Hello, everybody, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. We have 3 videos to take a look at today, as well as some still images. So let's hop right into it. Justin, we've got you up first. You're here live. Talk us through what's going on. What are you working on?
So I did a few of the updates with the right there. I added that little bit of bounce to the face, and then the robot eye, and then I'm working on some other texturing maybe for the robot, but then I dimmed those little light columns so they weren't quite as bright, those vertical light columns.
Yes.
And I rendered some full res stuff too, and it's mixed in with like the
it's funny, you could see it pop a couple times, like
that's like what that is.
Like right, was it like there it pops, and it's like ooh yeah, like as we get into here, like this looks really clean and nice. I love that, like that kind of like bit more bounce light in there works really well. Yeah, I think.
And I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking about doing some motion blur stuff too, but I'm going to save that till the end. So.
Yeah, I think everything's looking good. I think that the robot is feeling a little bit, or the robots are feeling a little bit dull. Like they could use some more. It depends on like how metally you want to make them, but their metal feels very, very matte. And I just because like I would expect this, especially this one as he kind of falls towards the end, I would just expect to see him get a little bit of like light hits off of this, and he just gets kind of dark in there. I would actually boost up his brightness at the very, very end as he hits the kind of like his resting place, because the darkness in here is fine as he passes like between the couple light sources, but as he comes back here, he should get a little bit brighter. And I can see it happening a little bit, but I think it just push it up a little bit more as he gets back into this pose. I think she looks really good. Yeah, how are you guys feeling about this? Because I'm not really, other than, the stuff you just mentioned and like playing around with the motion blur and that kind of thing, I think the look is there. I think it looks really good. And I'll treat the silence from others as agreement. What do you guys think?
I was just thinking that what you said about the metal. If you want to have it like an old metal, just maybe add some dust or something to it, and go the other way around and make it like dusty and old. If that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to say that. Either make it, because it looks now in the look of it like it would have more metal to it. But if you want that dusty, rusted look, I would say push it more the other way. So kind of push it one way or the other. Was that Ruby that went to say something? Somebody?
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying that she's really looking good. I like the hair.
Yeah. Yeah, the hair is looking really good. Adding that little bit of color is a nice little touch to this.
Yeah, it's like super fun.
Yeah. All right, cool. Good work, Justin. All right, we got Kat here, so we'll hop over into hers next. So, Kat, talk to us about what's going on.
So like I mentioned to you, there's a couple frames missing.
Yeah.
Storm knocked out. Well, didn't knock out our power, but I just stopped rendering because it was stormy. But So with the sconces, the ones that are closest to the doors, I added point lights too to brighten up the background so it looks like a light instead of just like all the dark areas. If you watch when the robot slides, it's so cool. This last robot makes me happy. When he slides here in a second, you'll see like the texture on the ground. It actually looks like he's kind of kicking up sparks. It's kind of cool. That just makes me happy.
I also like, I don't know if this is new, but his, like, because he has this light coming out of his face, I'm much more aware that he's face down at the end.
Yep.
And like just like a crumpled mush of a robot.
I think you see it better now from before. I added the brightness on the red robots that you were talking about. And I animated the gold robot's light so it doesn't hit her till he comes on frame. So it got rid of that stupid issue we were having in the flip, which you don't see, but it's there. Well, actually you do see, because you do see the flip. I'm actually pretty happy with how this looks. So
the point lights that you're adding in the background are generating like these kind of pockets of red on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
not the pockets were always there, but it's more of there by the doors, so it actually looks like the sconce is generating the light, unlike before where it was just black and it wasn't right.
Got it.
So I went and added that.
Let's see if we can see it at the end here. Yeah, that looks good. I think I wonder if. No, it's good. I was gonna say I just wonder if the floor, if these little pockets are a little too tight. Like it'd be nice to soften them a little bit more, but I think they're looking good.
It also kind of depends on the angle that you look at them too. Like, that's the other thing I like is as the camera moves, the light, how the reflections hit or shifting, which is nice. And I've got different textures now. Well, I had different textures before, but you can see them better because what I did was I rendered the layer with the sconce lights at 1,000 sample because I figured out how to do different layers of different samples, so you can really see the textures in the metal now. Since those are the only lights that are hitting the sets basically, except for the white lights. But I think the values look good. I think she looks integrated. I think you can see, they're going in and out of the white and the red lights.
Yeah.
And it definitely has a feeling to it now of like there's an emergency situation going on. So. Yeah.
I think it's all playing out really well. I think the only area that I was seeing that I would just because as her hair as she stands up, like because it's nice and it's like got really good shaping as she comes around here and it's got good shaping here, but then when she stands up, like in this, it's kind of a little bit more uniform because I guess it's kind of laying out flat. I think that's fine. I'll open it up. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I think the reason it looks a little flat is a lot of the light is coming from the robot light, which is basically just an emissive light. So as you watch, if she gets closer, that's the light that hits her in the front. So that might be because that kind of overtakes the white light from the top.
Okay. Yeah. What do you guys think? How are you guys feeling about this? Silence is good. I think we like it.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
So keep going. Yeah. So just keep going. Keep the polish, and then we'll keep moving along. This is going great though. All right, and then.
Light from up top, it looks really good on her, the white one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool.
All right, let's take a look at Hisham, who has an update on this, and I saw it. It looked like it was off screen. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it was more influence of off screen lights onto the car itself. If I remember, I hope I have that right. Let me just take a look at the. Yeah, because it was just added here. During the community, Jordan suggested to add influence lights from the BG to the car and car. And I added them to the render. I like it. Yeah. So basically, we had some notes that were outstanding yesterday. But the other idea was to add more reflection. I think that's great. I mean, in just looking at that, I think that looks really good. Do you guys have any? The only thing is that in a couple of, and this is so dumb, only if it's like a separate pass. If not, don't worry about it too much. It's just like right here on the corner of this, like it's a little bit bright, like it almost like kind of, because that like the way that windshields work is that there's a frame on them and it's not just like all glass. So like you wouldn't exactly see that passing through or getting that bright there on the edge, but it's totally fine. It's only if you can mask that area out. I would say worry about it. If not, don't worry about it. Yeah. But I think that's a really good note, and I think that's a really good execution of the note as well. So good job there. All right, let's hop over into our stills. We've got Ruby. We got yours up here, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. We've got the previous version and the update. Let's just wait. Oh wait, there we go. That's why. Copy. Let us. So this is the previous. This is the update. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Yeah, I think like adding this little hits of light on these midground characters, on these midground objects, looks really, really good. I think darkening that background a little bit helps. I think just saturating that light helps. Increasing the light over here is looking good. I'm just looking at I think the big thing versus what we were seeing in the reference from previously was just getting that layered atmospheric kind of foggy thing going on, where it's just like I basically just think you need a little bit more diffusion overall on it, but a little bit more favored towards the background than the foreground. So like something like this, and then so this realm, but maybe actually let me do it this way. Let me do this like with a little less opacity, and then I'll do a second one of the exact same thing, but in favor just towards the background and just in this little mock-up. And while I'm doing this, Ruby, how do you feel about this? Are you liking it? Are you feeling comfortable with it? Is this going the way that you were hoping?
Yeah, every iteration, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it even more. Yeah, I still feel like I need a little bit more to get it like that magical feeling.
It's tough
Yeah.
because you are going for magical, right? Which is like,
yeah.
So I think that
I get it, magic.
I think that by adding just this little bit, like a little bit more diffusion, again, more favor towards the background than the foreground would help. I also think that this magenta pocket that's hitting the ground there, I would like to, it's almost like I want to take it and just stretch it out a little bit more. Because one of the things that was really nice about the original was like the flow of color across the ground, and like there were some brighter and darker areas, but like I just think that's creating a little bit too much contrast down there, and I just kind of want to soften it overall. But everything else I think is looking just about right. The one thing I would like to see before we finish this is a pass where you just imperfect the hanging lights, right? Because like it almost feels a little too robotic right now, and not like an organic light that's being hung by people, and there's going to be sags, and people aren't really that good at hanging these types of lights. So like, you know, especially these coming up the wall, like to get them that taut would be really difficult. So just like have like just kind of askew them a little bit at some point.
Okay.
And same thing like looking right down here, just like that perfect line. It makes it feel less human created.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you guys think? Let me open it up. Any thoughts from the gallery?
So I don't know if you saw the comment about the lights also. I did play around with the adding more to the right corner.
Mm-hmm.
But since they're like a little bit bigger, I feel like it was like too much maybe.
Yeah.
So I played on removing some lights from the window, and that one actually looked like it could work.
Okay.
So it's better to have like less lights and keep it like that, and then just cut it more like uniform, or is it fine as is, like with a lot of lights on the one side and then not so many on the other?
I wasn't as I don't want them to be uniform from because like each one of these is a different home, a different building with different tenants who are going to do things slightly differently, and there's like part of this eclectic nature that makes it feel organic and real to me, like a real city or a real place. And you know, like there's always like there's a part in there's an area in Brooklyn that goes all out with their holiday lights every year, and it like to the point where like you would go out there and you walk the streets and it's like this neighborhood with these little houses, and they're just like incredible Christmas lights. But there's always like one house that doesn't partake, or like two houses that don't partake. And it's always very funny to me that they're just like, no. And like at no point when you were designing something like this would you like make one of the houses not have it. But that's just the way it works, right? Like some people don't participate, some people buy the wrong bulbs, some people don't hang them right. Like that, it's that type of imperfection that tells the story of a little bit of it. So I'm not as bothered or influenced by the lack of symmetry, or I think it's okay that you can break them up a little bit.
Hey, question. Ruby, it looks really, really good. I just have one question. So the second wall on the right, so the one that's behind the plant there, the one that's really specky, should we... let me see here. I can... I'm like watching my... Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Because none of the other ones are. Should we keep it that specky because it kind of pops out, or should we change it to where it's a bit more matte? I mean, I love it. It looks amazing, Ruby. You've done a really good job. I just noticed that because I like enlarged it on my computer screen. I'm like, oh, that's like, damn, that's really specky.
Yeah, maybe take that one down a little bit and maybe add in, because like I love it here too, like that. Like a little bit of specular
It looks good on the yellow building, and I don't know if it's just because that one building on the right's getting so much light from the alleyway, it's just popping more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
It may also benefit you, Ruby, to create a little bit more directionality out of this light coming out of the alley. Like if it's a street lamp, maybe like, you know, have it kind of fade off as we go to the top, and then it can kind of just hit the lower part of this wall.
Okay.
I think that, like, give that a try. I think that, because like, yeah, the fact that it's going like all the way up here and all the way up here, let's try that. Let's try just like putting an angle on it a little bit.
The yellow one has a lot of directionality to it and it fades off, but the one on the right, I guess it's a purpley wall, doesn't really have that. It just looks like somebody's got a big area light back there and it's just hitting it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That's good.
I have a question.
Everything else is amazing.
Thanks.
I have a question about the alley light. I don't know. I mean, this is the first the first time that I'm hearing you guys talk about it. But it gave me an impression, like, because there's none of the door lights are on. There's almost it's almost all coming from these like little lights in the window, and then there's this alley light that is like kind of giving the impression that somebody's being abducted by the alley aliens on that little alleyway. But I was wondering if maybe it would be interesting to tone it down a little bit. But I don't know. No.
Good, fresh eyes are good. I think we should give it a try.
But I think it looks amazing. I'm envious a little bit. Like
it's that quiet of when no one has comments. It's a quiet rage. It's a quiet jealous rage. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's a really good point, because that's like the only part of the image that's not being lit by the lights themselves, and it is quite bright. There's a little bit here out of this window, like the windows have some light to it, but yeah, that's a good point.
All right, I'll work in that.
Cool.
Thank you,
Ruby. All right,
Thanks.
we'll go. I think I saw. Yeah, Mindy, you're here, so we'll hop over to Mindy's next. Same scene, so I think it's a good transition. Mindy, I think I really like some of your the key values. Again, like I think those are working out really well. I would, and we worked on this with Ruby's a little bit, adding a little bit of displacement to the brick on the ground I think will help. Yours is at a slightly lower camera angle, so it'll be a little bit difficult to really to pick that up and make that look good, but I think we're high enough where it'll be okay. It's just like it's kind of reading as flat right now and just having that little bit of added displacement. The area that I
kind of fixed that. I don't really know how to go about doing it.
Oh yeah, maybe ping Ruby on the side. Maybe she can.
Yeah. Okay.
The biggest thing I would like to see is, I agree, because we talked about this the last time, is that like the shadow on the wall is feeling a little dark, and I think the shadows are feeling a little bit on the dark side here, and I think we can lift those a little bit more. Let's see. Just do it this way.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Are the doors supposed to be wood? Because I'm looking at the doors and I can't really tell what type of material they are.
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of looks like they're plaster, but I don't think they're supposed to be.
I think it's just painted wood.
Is it just painted wood? Okay. Just kind of.
You know what?
The grain on it's funky.
It's also that they're like tiled. Like you don't normally.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't normally find wood doors that are like, small planks of wood that are kind of glued together. I'm trying to think how. Like usually it's. I would say yeah, that's a good point. Like if you're gonna make it wood, just make it like a wood door with like a a frame or something that indicates it's more like a door, or they're a like 5 2x or just like planks of wood or something. So it's like take out the horizontal lines, I guess.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like a security door's on there, but then I'm like, wait, no, that's not metal. So I was just trying to figure it out.
That's a really good point. I just think that the shadow value can be lifted a little bit and add a little bit more blue in there, and I think it's a matter of increasing that skylight or the fill light for you, and I think that would be my main focus. Smaller things is like the saturation on these plants up here. I think I would pull those down a little bit because like I think the saturation works well in these. Actually, a better example would be like these, because these are kind of in the same type of lighting. It's just these and a little bit these plants get a little bit contrasty and a little bit too saturated. So I would just try and like soften those and bring those down a little bit.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Any other thoughts on this? Oh.
The plants that are on the ground to the right, they're having some weird pixelation, not pixelization, but like there's like 2 bright spots. So I don't know if that's a shader thing.
Yeah, this one in particular, you're right. This one here has like a bright leaf on it. Yeah, so
there's like no sunlight hitting right there.
Right. Yeah, so just watch out for that. All right. But yeah,
when you say the shadow, does that include like the shadow from the building or just like the cloud shadows?
The shadow from the building as well.
Okay.
Like the value of the shadow kind of in here in the foreground area down here, I think it feels pretty good. It could come up a little bit, but that's mostly where your goal is. Like these get a little bit heavy. It's just because like in this environment with these white buildings, they would just be like light is just gonna like bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce and bounce, and just kind of like fill in some of those darker areas. It's just because like you've done such a good job of getting the key light to feel nice and bright that we want the shadow to fill in and bounce to fill in as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's coming along nicely. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we'll bounce back here, and then we'll go to Jordan and then Anton. All right. So for this one, this is the first power light assignments. It's matching the lighting. I think your setup is really good. I think a couple things back, like looking back in here, I think that's getting a little bit dark and a little bit like the only way I can describe it is like harder. So I think like the way that this has these really soft transitioning shadows into light, and then the darkest dark doesn't really get super dark. I think like this right down the corner here gets a little dark, and there's not quite that transition. So I would say soften the quality of the light back there, and then increase if there is light being shined back there. I would just increase the amount of light that's going back there. In terms of the character itself, or our main center of focus, I love that you're reading this warm cool play off of each other. I think the warmth can go a touch more saturated, and then also yes, there's light kind of coming up from underneath, but I think you can actually pull this up a little bit higher so that compositionally what's happening here is it's almost like a 50-50 split, like where there's a line that kind of goes down the middle here, and then everything back here gets warm light and everything up there gets cool light with the soft transition between the two. Where here it's more like it's being cut off here, and I want to see it kind of extend up. And I know it's because there are wings and the angles are a little bit different, but I think I want to maintain that. in terms of the, let's see. If I can just pull this in here. In terms of the, like in the same way that kind of in the opposite way, I guess, the way that these darks back here are getting darker than the reference, I think that the character doesn't quite get as contrasty as this, and I think that the darks can go a little bit darker. I love that you're picking up on this little bit of like almost a rim light on coming around the side, and the values actually are really good. Thing too is to match the value of this stone to this, and you've got the shape there going like pretty perfectly. It's just the front of it gets a little bit more purple, and like it was just a matter of pulling out a little bit of the green. Actually, that might be a good note overall. Let's see, pulling out a little bit of the green value. The wrong one there. Yeah, I think it might just be more in that one light because now I'm pushing the key color a little bit, but that whatever light is hitting this right here, I think has a little bit too much green and could use a little more magenta. I love that you're so yes, there are some specifics that can be updated in this, but I think the most important thing is that you are, I can see your thought process on this, and I think it's going really well. I think it's like, I can see what you're focusing in on. I can see that you're reading the reference correctly, and that you're trying to translate. It's just a matter of like some little tweaks there. So really, really, really good job with the challenges of this first assignment. Jordan, so you were talking about using this as a still life. I think that's totally applicable. I just want to see more in the scene. Usually, like when you go to like, usually you just don't see this amount of negative space of like empty area here in the middle. Usually a still life, let's say like a Dutch still life, has kind of like a bunch of different props in it, a bunch of different things in it, right? So it'll be like, let's just look over here. There's just like, a bouquet of flowers, a whole bunch of fruit and skulls and knives and plates and, chickens and olives and all kinds of stuff. That I think that in order to kind of elicit that feeling and to kind of get at that, we need to fill this in with some more objects. Because that's all still life is a study of different materials, different objects in different composition. Watch out for whatever this thing is too, because it feels like it's just kind of like it just fell out of the cup and it's floating in midair. But the rest of it, I think the structure of it's good. I love the idea of like the base of this candlestick and light shining down, and it's going to hit these objects in a certain way that's going to create a good amount of shaping. And it might even just be a matter of taking this stuff and just pulling it in. Although then it kind of reveals the CG nature of this being kind of a flat edge. I just think, let's just get some more objects in there, and I think you're good. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Can I just say one thing about that? Yeah.
You cannot, but thank you for asking. Very good. Okay. I'm kidding. No, Andre, go ahead.
One thing in still life that, as a photographer, I always pay attention is to the distortion of the camera. We would fight with all our might not to have those leaning outside, lines like you have on the candle or whatever that is on the left side, like as if the parallel lines like falling to the outside because of the distortion of the lens.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So
you would try to do that to fight that and have everything like perpendicular, straight edge, whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a really good point too, because like if you look at the composition, which I didn't think to look at, it's all very horizontal. It's all very straight on. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, very good. Okay, now I'm happy that you said something. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's why most still life photographers would use like large format camera that you can move the back and the front and the lens separately.
Yeah.
So that you can correct that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's a really, really, really good point. Or even just like, making it slightly telephoto too to kind of get everything.
Yeah, you can actually do correct the perspective in Arnold in the camera.
Oh, yeah.
So that you have that straight.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very good point. All right, great. All right, Anton. This is another like color study of still life. I think that so you're using this palette from Ratatouille and using it in your work here and kind of using this as your main inspiration. I love the color palette that you chose. I think that the night, like I'm fascinated by representations of night in animated films because you can do it so differently, and they've got a pretty purpley saturated sky color that's also kind of dark, and you're kind of nailing that look. I think the color that you chose for the key light matches in really well. I think the biggest thing for me, for you to work on with this is, and this is a really difficult thing, is just the kind of like the feeling of translucency of flowers, and that I think that like some areas, like the insides of let me make this a little smaller, like the insides of these flowers here would get more light kind of penetrating in through the sides, and like these flowers over here are kind of getting hit by key light, even though it's probably striking them from behind, but it would still like pass through the leaves of the tree, of the flower, or the petals I should say. These types of plants would get, they're basically, so instead of lighting the petals of a leaf as if it's like a hard geometry, it's just allowing more light to pass through. Now, the reason why it's difficult is there's a few ways that you can handle that. You can do, you can actually adjust the shader so it's correctly, doing that, but that can cause some noise and some other issues. You can do, I've seen people adding like point lights into smaller spaces. I've seen people do passes where it's much more of it, because with a still life you can get away with this. You can do a light with a more ambient, like ambient shadow, like lifted, artificially lifted shadows, and then using that to kind of paint in some of these darker areas where light would actually pass through a little bit more. And then the only other thing is these spheres over here. There's so much detail in these flowers, right? There's so much information. There's so much understanding of the texture and the material and what goes into that. And then these spheres are a little bit plain. And so I think I would just add maybe a little subsurface to them, a little bump on the texture, just something that kind of indicates more of what the surface is. But in terms of everything else, I think it's looking really good. I mean, maybe, and again, this goes against this particular frame a little bit, but maybe consider putting some specularity in the background just to get a little more shaping back there. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it looks really good. But yeah, I agree with what you said. Especially the light on the little I guess daisies on the right.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like a little, and that might be because in real life this light might not be this close. It might be like coming from a window or something.
Yeah.
But I would expect to either be like wider, or if it's, I don't know, yellow, to be a little brighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a comment. The trunk, the diagonal trunk that's in the back, maybe either make less light on it or move it, because when I look at it, I think it's a god ray, and then I realize it's not, and it's kind of distracting from the flowers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, like, actually, because compositionally it's a little, I don't know. It almost looks like it's like, because it doesn't continue past it. It almost like, from a 2D perspective, looks like it's being jabbed or stabbed into the object. So
I don't understand.
Maybe just remove it unless it's covering something. I would say maybe just pull it off.
Yeah, and are those supposed to be bookshelves on the right, or is that like? I guess I'm not understanding the background of the scene.
So for me, it almost looks like planters or like some sort of like planter box back there or something.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's kind of like a ruined sort of gardening shed or something. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out like the story of the thing.
Because it felt like pots, like potted plants, pots.
Okay.
And then you can see like in whether you want to do this or not. Like I just boosted it a little bit more and pushed the brights a little brighter. And I think that's part of it too. And I lifted the midtones on it as well. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's my only thing, was just wondering what the trunk was. So
yeah.
Other than that, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good stuff, man. Really good stuff. All right, cool. All right, well, I think that was everybody. If you guys have any questions or need anything else over the course of the day, let me know. If not, I will see you back here probably the same time tomorrow. Probably should check that before I just said that out loud. But hopefully I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. If the time changes, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye. Bye.